letter. That is your part second. That is, Jim is writing the letter to his wife, and what happens, he is mentioning it in this particular letter. Dearest Connie, I write to you in a much happier frame of mind because something wonderful has just happened that I must tell you about at once. We were all standing in one trenches yesterday morning. So here he is saying that Britishers were one side and the Germans were the other side. How we are having the partition between two countries. So they are not being allowed. How you have seen Wagha border, both Pakistan as well as Indian to opposite side. But during some festive season they wish each other. So in the same manner. So as it was Christmas morning, he is saying, it was crisp and quiet all about, as beautiful a morning as I have ever seen, as cold and frosty as a Christmas morning should be. I should like to be able to tell you that we begin it. But the truth, I am ashamed to say, is that Fritz began it. Means here he is telling that he didn't start the friendship, but the opposite army, that is German, started. First, someone saw a white flag waving from the trenches, that is opposite side. Then they were calling out to us from across no man's land, Happy Christmas, Tommy, Happy Christmas. When we had got over the surprise, some of us shouted back, same to you, Fritz, same to you. Meaning is given over here, so you can recognize it. What's the meaning of Fritz and what's the meaning of Tommy? I thought that would be that. We all did. But then suddenly one of them was up there in his great coat, that is a long coat, and waving a white flag, as it was winter season, so long coats, heavy coats. Don't shoot, lads, boys, someone shouted, and no one did. Then there was another Fritz, German soldier. Then there was another Fritz up on the parapet, that is ground, and another. Keep your heads down, I told the men. It's a trick. So here Jim feels it was a trick, but in reality it wasn't. One of the Germans was waving a bottle above his head. It is Christmas Day, Tommy, as British soldier. So here the German soldier is telling to the British soldier. We have schnapps. Schnapps, that is alcohol, or you can say drinks, hot drinks, which are used to keep yourself warm during the winter seasons in heavy snowfall and all. We have sausage which is made of many different items. Mostly it is being used over there as meat, okay, which it is made of. We have sausage. We meet you. Yes, means they wanted to meet they wanted to wish the Britishers soldiers over there. By this time there were dozens of them walking towards us across no man's land, and not a rifle between them. Little Private Morris was the first up. Come on, boys, what are we waiting for? And then there was no stopping them. I was the officer. So here Jim is talking about that he was the officer in charge. I should have stopped them there and then, I suppose. But the truth is that it never even occurred to me I should. All along their line and ours, I could see men walking slowly towards one another. Grey coats, khaki coats, meeting in the middle. That is, both the enemies are meeting each other and wishing. I was one of them. I was part of this. In the middle of the war, we were making peace. You cannot imagine, dearest Connie. So here the narrator, he is expressing his views to Connie, his wife, in the letter. You cannot imagine, dearest Connie, my feelings as I looked into the eyes of Fritz officer, who approached me, hands outstretched, means they shake their hands. Hans Wolf. So here the German soldier is talking. He is telling that he had gripping. He said, gripping my hands warmly and holding it. I am from Dusseldorf. I play the cello in the orchestra. Happy Christmas. So he wished Jim. Captain Jim Macpherson, I replied, and a happy Christmas to you too. I am a school teacher from Dorset, in the west of England. Ah, Dorset, he smiled. I know this place. I know it very well. We share my rum ration. Rum means alcohol only. And his excellent sausage. And we talked. Connie. And we talked Connie. Means he is expressing his views to Connie in the letter. And we talked Connie. How we talked. He spoke almost perfect English. But it turned out that he had never set foot in Dorset, never even been to England. He had learned all he knew of England from school and from reading books in English. His favorite writer was Thomas Hardy. Students, you have to learn the name. You have to learn the name of the book also. His favorite book. Yes, you have to keep in mind this particular name of the book. You can underline it, which things are important. So here, his favorite book, Far from Madding Crowd. So the name of the book is Far from Madding Crowd. So out there in no man's land, we talked of Bathsheba and Gabriel Oak and Sergeant Troy and Dorset. So they talked about different people as well as about places also. He had a wife and a son. Now we are talking about Hans Wolf. Keep in mind, not about Jim. So here Hans had a wife and a son born just 6 months ago. As I looked about me, there were huddles of khaki and grey everywhere, all over no man's land, smoking, laughing, talking, drinking, eating. So here all were enjoying that particular morning. Hans Wolf and I shared what was left of your wonderful Christmas cake, Connie. So here Connie had sent a Christmas cake, and that also they had it over there. He thought the marzipan was the best he had ever tasted. So here one of the sweets. I agreed. We agreed about everything, and he was my enemy. Means here in reality, Hans Wolf was a German soldier and Jim was a British soldier. So both were enemies, but still today they were having chit-chatting. There never was a Christmas party like it, Connie. Means yes, we at the battlefield we never have, but here today they were. Then someone, I don't know who, brought out a football. Greycoats were dumped in piles to make goalposts. So they started playing. You can I'll be showing you this particular picture. You can see this picture how they are playing. Both the armies. Greycoats were dumped in piles to make goalposts. And the next thing we knew, it was Tommy against Fritz, means both opposite enemies playing. out in the middle of no man's land. No man's land means the trenches. Hans Wolf and I looked on and cheered, clapping our hands and stamping our feet to keep out the cold as much as anything. There was a moment when I noticed out breaths mingling in the air between us. He saw it too and smiled. Jim McPherson, he said after a while, I think this is how we should resolve this war. A football match. No one dies in the football match. No children are orphaned. Orphaned, you know that no parents. If the parents will die, the kid will be orphaned. No wives become widows. Yes, if as the man goes in the war, he dies sometimes, and then you know that we are widows. How widows are. I would prefer cricket. So here they wanted games or sports to be played instead of having a war. I would prefer cricket. I told him then we Tommies could be sure of winning, probably. We laughed at that and together we watched the game. Sad to say, Connie Frizz won, 2-1. But as Hans Wolf generously said, our goal was wider than theirs, so it wasn't quite fair. The time came, and all too soon, when the game was finished, the schnapps, that is drinks, and the rum and the sausage had long since run out, means finished, and we knew it was all over. I wished Hans well and told him I hope he would see his family again too, that the fighting would end and we could all go home. I think that is what every soldier wants on both sides. Hans Wolf said, Take care, Jim McPherson. I shall never forget this moment, nor you. He saluted and walked away from me slowly, unwillingly, I felt. He turned to wave just once and then became one of the hundreds of the grey-coated men drifting back towards their trenches. Because again, as they had to go back on their duties. So here, both the armies went back. That night, back in our dugouts, that is shelters, we heard them singing, that is the Germans singing. Britishers are hearing that the Germans were singing carols, that is Christmas carols, and singing it quite beautifully. It was Still Nash, Silent Night, the name of the carol they are saying. Our boys gave them a rousing chorus. So they were singing over there. So here, the British Army, that is the people, that is the soldiers, too sang with them. Our boys gave them a rousing chorus of Wild Shepherd's Watch. So this is also another carol's name. We exchanged carols for a while and then we all fell silent. We had our time of peace and goodwill, a time I will treasure as long as I live. So here, students, we end up with our students will end up with our second part. Further in the second part only, it is being written. Let's see. At the end, Jim is writing, Dearest Connie, by Christmas time next year, this war will be nothing but a distant, that is different and terrible memory. Yes, wars no one love. Many good things, bad things only happen, not good things. I know from all that happened today how much both armies long for peace. We shall be together again soon, I'm sure of it. Your loving Jim. So here our second part gets over. So this is particular written. No one knows about this letter, as I think so that during the war